Okay, my magic clock flipped. Welcome to the group conversation for the ops section. I don't see any questions, so I'll just provide some random filler. Maybe I can tell some dad jokes or something. No, just a reminder, I think this is the first, well, this is the first section-based group conversation. So there was a merge request that was merged over the weekend to move us from group-based, especially as we were splitting stages into multiple groups, to section-based. And Dolly and I drew the lucky straw of being the first ones up. So bear with us on the content. We put it together pretty rapidly yesterday, but remember, again, primarily this is about Q&A. The ops section covers the monitor and configure stages of the product. We're happy to answer any and all questions related to the product, how the engineering team is working, or anything else that is of interest. And if I am forced to regale you with dad jokes, I'll have to go to the dad jokes channel because I had a miss at the moment. Sarah, you want to verbalize your question? Sarah, why? Since there are so many Sarahs.
Sure. What do we feel we've learned from the weekly pulse survey so far?
No, that's a really good question. Still learning. I've learned that participation is higher when I send the survey at a particular time versus later in the afternoon. I may need to adjust that based on time zones, but that was one feedback that was really, really appreciated. Not very much in the comments, although there were some really good comments that help drive good conversation. So I encourage everyone to put in comments because they make it easier to relate to the rating. The rating itself has, like, we've been in the upper of the range, which is fantastic. I'm very happy with the result. I would just like to see a bit more comments so that it's easier to get a sense of what particular things the team may need. I use them very much as a tool, as a skip level tool. I would like to get back into a cadence of doing regular skip levels, and hopefully that will be that will happen as Todd onboarded, taking on Secure and Defend, and Tim is helping with the ICD. So I'm hoping on that front we'll have more face-to-face time. But this is very much an async tool and a good gauge for me to know how the team is doing. Does that answer your question, Sarah?
Yeah, thank you.
Scott, I see you have the next one.
Hey, Dolly. Kenny, you outlined 4 different teams on slide 5. If you could only get one thing done in each of the 4, like what's most important in each area?
Interesting. I'm going to try to channel my inner Daniel and Sarah, but you posed it to me. I think for configure, we are working on PaaS MVC, but part of the initiative there is to enable users and administrators to set up kind of available compute resources that then development teams can utilize with ease. So to really lower the barrier of having to procure and provide infrastructure on a per project basis. So I think Daniel's been highly focused on that, both in making Kubernetes configuration more viable, as well as bringing it to the group and instance level. And then we kind of consider when we have it at the instance level, we're essentially creating what we would call a PaaS. In Monitor, I know Sarah's been heavily focused on incident management and starting that MVC so we can start closing the loop in the DevOps lifecycle. On APM, I'm really focused on ensuring that we are continuing to make metrics viable, and I really want to improve upon the ability for developers to instrument their applications with custom code and then us create alerts for them that then get fed into instance when they go beep in the night. I'll pause there, as those are kind of like, in my mind, top product priorities, but Sarah, Daniel, please add if I didn't capture those correctly.
Thank you, Kenny.
Sure.
So while we're waiting for some more questions, I do want to point out that we are working to rename PaaS. So the first proposed name we had was Application Development Platform. That may not be the final name because we're trying to position GitLab kind of in the platform for all of your DevOps needs delivered in a single app, and that may or may not be final. So we're working through naming right now. If you have any thoughts on that, we welcome them. We have a channel for naming, so feel free to join that and chime in.
We don't have a channel just for that name. We have a general channel for all naming conversations, right? I forgot.
Right. Naming.
Yeah.
Yeah. Good point. Thank you, Kenny.
Daniel, would you mind posting a link to the issue where you'd like contributions around the name?
Absolutely.
Or is that only okay, great, thank you. All right, Philippe, you have the next one.
Thank you, Daria. I was wondering on slide 9, I can see that the throughput is raising nicely for configure and suddenly for monitor. Can we explain that, or thereby just the team is growing? Is there anything that we should know about that?
Sure, I'm happy to give you a little bit of insight. We review these metrics weekly with the managers, and it's something that we're constantly learning from. Definitely, I'll start with Monitor. So Monitor is a brand new team. Most of the engineers are new to GitLab, and they've had a chance to onboard and get familiar, as well as execute and have just going through the life cycle, doing the reviews, putting MRs, going through the transition of breaking, large deliverables into smaller MRs. So that's been a really good journey. I also think that, Seth has done a fantastic job, taking the team and figuring out how to execute it. So being the first engineering manager there. And then to add to that, with our front end management, the partnership and those relationships and how to work collaboratively has also improved. So a lot of these things line up, and we're just getting better at it. So my hope is to continue to see that. Definitely, when you go from one engineer to a large team, and actually Monitor is now 4 teams, 2 backend teams, 2 front end teams. It is natural to see that trend up. I'm hoping that with these throughput charts, one of the things that I'd like to see, maybe as we move it to Periscope, is the ability to get a count of contributors. So we're able to see how does that throughput line up with the number of contributors for the month or the week. For the configure, a similar story. That team broke off of CI/CD, was seeded by 2 fantastic folks, Myra and Dylan. We started to hire and grow that team as well from the back end. We started to align dedicated front end engineers with it. So again, it's onboarding successfully, having these multiple months of going through the process, and now I see that team executing very well, and they've fine-tuned how they work together, especially through the configure team is spread across very wide time zones. So that was also another thing that I've seen them work through, and kudos to the individuals on the team, on both teams. They've really figured out a good working relationship. So anything else on this, Philippe? I'm happy to fill you in.
That's great to hear. Thank you very much for sharing that.
Yeah, absolutely. John?
Yeah, my question is, how are we monitoring GitLab right now? And is there a public dashboard that folks can take a look at?
Yeah, and I provided the link, and the infrastructure team spends a lot of time monitoring GitLab.com itself, and we provide those public dashboards, and we've been super involved in the community in terms of showing and returning the best practices for how we monitor GitLab to both Grafana, and then at Monitorama, Andrew Newdigate gave a talk about how we do anomaly detection on GitLab.com metrics. It's important, though, I want to make sure we're making a distinction, though, because what we call the monitor stage is really about the tooling that we enable our users to instrument and then respond to their applications in production environments. And so I'll give this other little bit of context and call out for some work the monitor group is doing because the monitor group also owns this part of the product called GitLab Self Monitor, which we're working to transform. Essentially, we have some out-of-band admin panels that show monitoring related information for the health of your GitLab instance itself. It's kind of like using GitLab to get a view of how GitLab itself is performing. And we're working to move that into its own project so that actually then it utilizes the same native capabilities we would give a customer to monitor their own application. So if they created their own Rails application, they would instrument it and have these dashboards, and we would use much of those same tools on GitLab itself. And that also gives us the opportunity to expose users and administrators to, oh, here's kind of like best practices for how to instrument and use our monitoring capabilities as they would live in a complex application like GitLab. So I'm really excited about that initiative. That's part of our GitLab Self-Monitor initiative that we have going on. But that oftentimes people hear the word monitor or monitoring at GitLab, and they think it's about how do we monitor GitLab itself. But remember, we're building an extensive set of functionality that enable our customers to monitor their own applications. Does that help, John? And Ben, I don't know if Ben is on, but I happened to come across in my news feed that your talk, and so I wanted to give a shout out for that.
Yeah, long term, we do want to use all of the features that the monitor stage is using to run GitLab.com itself, so that we dog food our own features there, and we've got a lot of work to do, but I think long term we'll get there.
So just so I'm clear, and apologies, for kind of like these basic questions, but so right now, like the monitoring tools that we use are not included in GitLab out of the box for like our users and customers?
The same tools are actually used. So we currently we've done a lot of, like, for example, Prometheus monitoring is the primary tool we use to monitor GitLab.com, and this is the same tool we used as part of the monitor stage that the customers are using.
Yeah, but I think the answer is we're also, as Ben pointed out, like progressively moving more and more towards dogfooding. But we don't entirely use our monitoring, only the monitoring tools available in GitLab to monitor GitLab.com.
Yeah, and John, just to maybe chime in here a little bit, I'm not sure if your question was around the tools that we use to monitor GitLab.com today, like that dashboard. We actually ship a fully functional monitoring suite with Omnibus today in GitLab. So if you install Omnibus in a single node, you will get Prometheus hooked up, as Ben mentioned. You'll also get Grafana hooked up. You'll have some dashboards baked in. And I think hopefully this summer gets merged soon. We'll actually give you a link to that dashboard in the instance panel. And so you can click on that and you get taken to a full dashboard telling you how your instance is doing. So that's been a lot of work the marketing's been doing. And Drew is also doing some great work to even have it get set up out of the box with service discovery for multi-node GitLab instances as well. So if you deploy 10 nodes, you'll get those 10 nodes being scraped and pulled for your dashboards across all of them automatically as they come up and down, which is super exciting. And then hopefully you can transition this to in product here soon as well. But does that help answer your question? But I mean, today I think we have a great monitoring story out of the box.
Yep, no, that's really helpful. Thanks everyone for the feedback. I was definitely a bit confused, but feel like I have a better grip now. So thanks.
Other questions? Nothing in the doc. All right, going once, going twice. We'll end early.
Well, before we end, I do want to take a minute and call out an announcement that I put on slide 4. So if you haven't been with GitLab very long, a quick brief history of Monitor. Ben has been with GitLab and seeded this team and has done amazing work. throughout. We are really excited for him. He is transferring to the infrastructure team. We'll be closely aligned to, continuing to work on monitoring, but from infrastructure. So Ben, thank you so much for everything you've done for the dev. And this is not like a goodbye or anything. We are so excited to continue to partner. Ben is leading a working group for
self-managed scalability.
Yes, thank you. I was like, it's not lining up correctly. So that work is very exciting. We're all looking forward to the results. It's going to continue to be a partnership with the APM team. So very excited for Ben and wish him all the best, of course. Thanks, Ben. All right, I guess we'll end it.
Thanks, everybody.
Bye, y'all.